everyone. We are here tonight. I have Annabelle and Caden and William and Garfield, who is slowly making her way over here. So we are outside and we are going to do a quick lesson tonight. This was intended for our Zoom class for our youth at our church, but the internet was not cooperating for me on my computer, so we're outside. I'm using my phone and I hope that this can work. And I'm going to make just a quick video to be able to present this lesson and be able to send the link to the parents and to the youth so that they can watch this lesson as time allows. So tonight we're going to be talking about responsibility. Now, we all have our own responsibilities in life, and if we want to talk about regular responsibilities, then we can talk about our responsibilities like chores or making sure we do our homework or clean up after we eat. So there's lots of things that you're probably responsible for at home. And those things, I can bet your parents want you to do in the right way. They want you to do your chores. They want you to clean up after yourself. And not only that, if you do your chores and you do it kind of halfway and you don't do it the right way, then I'm sure you might get in trouble for that too. So just like if you put up a bunch of dirty dishes and you didn't pay attention that they were dirty, then you're probably going to get in trouble for that too. So we today are going to be talking about our responsibilities. Now, last week or the week before, I spoke about teamwork. And teamwork is important. It's important for us to learn, both in life, but also in our service for God. Because if we are going to work together for one goal in something in our life, like a school project, then we also have to learn to work together for one goal in serving God. And we all do have one goal. God put us all here to do our work for Him and to be able to serve Him and honor Him. And we have to do that. We have to work together to make that goal. And be careful with her. Alright, so tonight we're talking about responsibility. Now, responsibility kind of ties in with teamwork, because if we talk about teamwork and we talk about working together, we also talk about group projects and things where we all have to do our part or the ultimate goal doesn't work. So if you have a school project at school and you have a bunch of people supposed to be working together and they all have individual jobs and one person doesn't do their individual job, then at the end, when that project is presented, then the teacher is going to probably be disappointed because something's not going to be done right. And that group will get a bad grade because the whole group didn't do their part. Now, that person, that individual person, and this is where it goes into where it's our responsibility to do our work, is while we are all here to do one work for God, we all have individual jobs in that project. And we all have something that we're going to get graded on. And we're going to get looked at and judged on because we have our own responsibilities. Now, your responsibility is going to be different than mine, obviously. And everybody's responsibility, it's okay if it's different. It's yes, ma'am.
One of the responsibilities for God is praying and reading your Bible.
That's right.
And going to church.
So, like she said, praying and reading our Bible and going to church, those are all things we can do for God. And they're all wonderful things. Some of them are things that we can all do. Some of them are things that, and not only those, but something like singing or preaching or teaching a class. Some of those things aren't meant for everybody, and that's okay. Because your job is your job alone, and God put you here, and He made you special to be able to do it. Now, whenever we talk about our responsibility, that's talking about us being able to know that we're going to be judged on our actions. And while we do have a group effort to do things for God, we have to take responsibility for what He wants us to do. So in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 7 through 8, I'm going to read that. You have it, Annabelle?
1 Corinthians
chapter 3, verses 7 through 8. Alright, I'm going to read this, and then we'll go. No, you can stay. Alright, it says, So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase. Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and read verse 9. God told me to just go ahead and read it, so we're going to go ahead and read it. For we are laborers together with God. Ye are God's husbandry, ye are God's building. Yes.
Since you
It's okay.
said through 8,
Yep, I went ahead and read 9. Yes, sir.
God died on the cross.
You are right. God did die on the cross for us. He died on the cross for all of us and for all of you. And I hope you all know that. That is an important thing to know. All right, so as we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 7, and I did read through 9, this tells us that while we all have our own jobs, we are all working together. And not one is more significant than the other. So the person who plants a seed is just as important as the person who waters it. And if you ever talk about planting a seed in the gospel and in the Bible, we can use it as a reference to being able to plant a seed of the gospel in somebody's heart. Now, if I'm going to plant the seed of the gospel in one of y'all's hearts, that means I'm going to be able to tell you something about the gospel that's going to help you to come to know God. Now, somebody that waters it is going to be somebody that helps you to encourage you along the way until you accept God, and then to help you to grow with God. So whenever we have, and this is going to be a little example here, and I don't have a basketball and a goal, but say this is a basketball and this is a basketball goal.
I'll hold it.
They're used, I got it. They're used for one goal, right? Pretend it's real. They're used for one goal, and that's to play basketball. Now, I can take this ball, if it's a basketball, and I can dribble it on the ground. I can play with it. We can play catch with it. We can do lots of things, and this ball can be successful on its own. A basketball goal, you could probably think of something else to do with it. So, but for the ultimate goal, it's used to be able to throw this, and it goes through the goal. And we have two pieces that have to work together. Now, if the ball were to deflate, or the ball were to not bounce like it needed to, or to not fly through the air like it needed to, then it wouldn't work. The basketball game would not work. If the goal was standing up high and all of a sudden it just fell down, then the game would not work. Now, both of these pieces have to work on their own for the ultimate goal to be achieved.
The goals
Now,
game is to stand still.
So now we have the project that we have as a whole to create God's work. Now, we each have our individual jobs, and like we talked about, teamwork is important. In teamwork, we are supposed to work together. Go ahead. We're supposed to work together. We're supposed to do our parts as a team, but we're also supposed to do our parts individually so that the ultimate goal can be achieved, just like this would be. If we were to throw the ball, this person did their duty. If the goal was set up the correct way, standing up on the ground, it's anchored into the ground how it needs to be and everything, then that person did the right goal. But both have to do the right thing for the game to work. Now, a ball can bounce and, like I said, play, and you can do lots of things with a ball that work on its own. And a goal could probably find other things to do with it. But just because we can do other things doesn't mean that's what God wants us to do. So I want you to search in your heart and find what God is telling you to do, because God has a special job for each of you, and He wants you to take responsibility for that. Just like He wants you to take responsibility for doing your chores and for doing things that you're supposed to do on your own. So God's there, and He's telling you to have that responsibility and to do it. Now, Galatians 6:5 says, "For every man shall bear his own burden." If the goal fell, could you blame the ball? If this goal was standing up and all of a sudden it fell, you couldn't blame the ball for the game of basketball not working. And if the ball deflated and was suddenly not bouncing or not flying through the air like it needed to, you couldn't blame the goal for the game not working. The game didn't work. Oh, you gotta give me that. Oh, okay. Nope, you didn't stop it. Alright, so he found my remote. Alright, so if one thing or the other messes up, you can't blame the other because it didn't work. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. So Galatians 6:5, I'm going to read it again. It says, "For every man shall bear his own burden." So you have your own burdens, and I have my own burdens. We have our own jobs that we have to do, and we have to be able to do them for us to be able to work as a team, because the teamwork doesn't work if we don't do our own jobs and our individual jobs. Alright, hey Stink, you're going to have to go in if you don't listen. Alright, so if I'm cooking dinner and I end up making green beans that are so super salty, then I couldn't get mad and say, well, I didn't make them too salty. I would have to take responsibility for that if I'm going to learn how to do it right the next time. And if you're doing something and maybe you're doing a chore and you didn't do it right and your parents are saying, hey, that's not the right way to do it, then you have to make sure you listen, because if you don't take responsibility, then you can't learn and get better. Yes, ma'am.
Or if you don't take responsibility for burning yourself.
Yeah, burning yourself, because you really don't want to do that again, do you?
No.
All right, so if we go back to chores and we have a good responsibility and you don't care if your room is clean or if your homework is done or your dirty clothes are picked up or that you threw the trash on the floor, if you don't care about those things, then the house would eventually get dirtier and dirtier until someone else did it for you. Having a good sense of responsibility means that you know what is your responsibility and you're going to try your best to do it and to do your own job and to take responsibility for what is your job. Now, God is telling us that we each have our own individual jobs, and we do, but you have to take responsibility, and you have to tell God, you know what, I know what my job is, and you have to take responsibility for your job. You have to have a good sense of responsibility for God's Word. And those things are important. Now, think of your jobs for Christ, like the basketball goal and the ball. We all have our own jobs, and we all have to do them correctly, or it doesn't work. We all need to do our jobs for God, and if we don't, who will go to hell because you didn't do your job? Who won't grow in their faith or turn into be the preacher because you didn't do your job for Christ? There's many things that can go wrong if we don't do our work for God. And I want to encourage you to take responsibility for your job, because God does give you each a job, and He wants you each to do it in the right way. So I want to encourage you to do that, to work individually, but to also know what it means, like I did the last week or the week before, on teamwork, because working together is super important too. But God does give us our own individual responsibilities. God bless y'all. Say bye.
Bye.